Russia responded to the whole drone crashing incident with their fighter jets, and they gave the most Russian answer ever. It wasn't our fault. Now, you need to stick with me because this is starting to sound like a middle school fight between two kids who can't stand one another. Russia's saying they didn't do anything. The United States is saying this is all Russia's fault. Now, you need to understand this. Russia has two major spokesmen to the United States. You have the Kremlin side, like in Moscow, and then you have the ambassador to the United States. Okay, first spokesman, first statement. We have Dmitry Peskov. This guy is like the main spokesman for the Kremlin. He's Putin's right-hand man. Dmitry straight up said the United States accusing Russia of purposely crashing into a drone. This has created the most tension ever in a long time, and relations are at the lowest they've ever been. Now, Dmitry plays some psychological warfare, and the Russians, you gotta give him credit, they're really good at this. He stated that the Russians will never, nor are they closing the door to constructive relationship type talks. When you break this down, Dmitry is putting the ball back in the US court. They know that Biden has a really tough decision to make. If Biden is too hard on Russia, they're gonna look like the bad guys. If Biden is too easy on Russia, they're gonna look like the weak guys, and Russia knows that. The Kremlin ultimately is doubling down. Again, they're saying, not our fault, we didn't crash into you. In fact, provide the receipts, show the video. And that puts the US, again, in a bad situation because now they're giving away information of where they operate. They're essentially baiting the US to tell everyone what they're doing over the Black Sea. But let me get to the second spokesman. His name is Anatoly Antonov, and he is the main Russian US ambassador. He's like the link between the two countries. Now, I want to make this clear. Russia has embassies in the United States. Again, there's like this myth that Russia, United States, they hate each other so much. Well, if they did, they wouldn't have embassies in one another's countries, so they still have them, and that's why this ambassador can operate out of the United States. The ambassador's statement was essentially, the drone deliberately and provocatively was moving towards Russian territory with transponders turned off. So there's two things to break down from this initial statement. Number one, the Russians are justifying, hey, you guys launched the drone, it looked like it was coming towards us, so we are going to intercept it and scramble some jets. And I promise we will get to the US response, but number two, the Russians are saying you turned off your transponders. I had recently mentioned before in a video that the US and the Russians are actually well aware of who's operating where and what everyone's doing. So the Russians are saying you shut off your stuff and that's not normal of you. In fact, the ambassador said this was a cause for concern. You are operating way too close to our borders. Thus, we scrambled the jets. But how did the drone fall from the air? These drones just don't do that. Well, according to Russia, the US crashed their drone because of sharp maneuvering. That's right, sharp maneuvering. Russia essentially had no further comment. They didn't talk about the Russian jets dumping fuel on the drone. They had nothing else to say. It was the US fault. Now it's your turn, United States. So the United States is essentially saying, Russia, you are full of crap. Okay, first statement. The United States is saying they will release the receipts. They are going to show the drone footage to prove that this is Russia's fault. I don't think they should do this, but I will get to that in a minute. Let me get to the rest of the US statements. Number two, the US stated they go out in this territory all the time and their drone was unarmed. So if you were to scramble your jets and go over our drone, you will see it was unarmed and not a threat. If you want an actual direct quote from an Air Force general, they said this was an unsafe and unprofessional act from the Russians. I'm sorry, I have to say this to the general. I'm sure you're a really good guy. But if you're going to put out a statement, you got to own it. Like, just be like, Russia, don't ever do this again or else. Like, obviously it was unsafe. Like, come on, man, just put some more oomph in it. So the United States is really doubling down on the fact that Russia knows we operate over the Black Sea. We're just doing our typical reconnaissance. There's no reason why you guys should have came at us, but let me break down what I think is really going on. I am willing to bet a lot of you had no idea how much action really goes down in the Black Sea. In fact, I'm sure a lot of Americans don't even know what countries border the Black Sea. Because I'm just being honest, this is not a topic we talk about in the United States. We don't talk about geopolitical stuff over the Black Sea. We don't realize what Crimea is all about and why Russia wants warm water ports in the Black Sea. The very basic backbone of what a drone does is reconnaissance. And the last thing you want anyone to know what you're doing with reconnaissance is where you are operating. And guess what? Now everyone knows the United States is operating drones over the Black Sea. And the thing is this, we can assume the United States is spying on Russia. Russia knows this, but now they have data to prove that, look, you guys are coming towards us. We caught you. Why are you guys sending US equipment over here? We want nothing to do with you guys. Remember, Russia played that Uno reverse card of, we know you're coming over here. We want to talk to you guys. We never closed the door on you guys. What are you doing? This is Russian manipulation at its finest. I'm not saying what they're doing is wrong or what they're saying is wrong, but they kind of caught the United States. And the United States releases drone footage all the time. I don't think that's what the bad thing is. I think what the bad thing is falling for the trap of the Russians. They want you to show the drone footage so they can blast that all over the news and say, hey, look, these guys were coming towards us to spy on Russia. And on the flip side, if the US does not release the drone footage, the Russians win. We told you nothing happened. They have no evidence to prove this. We were there. They were not. Ha, told you they were fake. Oh, and their president is really weak. Russia also knows if that the footage gets released and it was proven that these fighter jets crashed into a drone and knocked it out of the sky, well, what did you guys prove? Everyone hates us already anyways. Oh, but this is going to prove we can't trust Russia. Again, what did we prove? Even if you are on the side of Russia and you believe everything Russia says, you have to admit this is the ultimate Uno reverse card. They are not going to lose in this situation here. I am very thankful for one thing. No one got hurt. Thank God it was a drone and not a person, because we would have a very different story here. That's essentially the story. Russia is saying the United States doesn't know how to fly drones, thus they crashed it. The United States is saying you guys crashed into our drone. Let me know what you guys think. Leave your comments down below. I think this will all just fizzle away, and I'm sure some other random thing will happen in like a couple of days.